Alright, welcome guys to something I haven't done in quite a long time. Yes, this is Total War Warhammer and I have joined a multiplayer game. And you know what? I'm going to start with a confession. I was not planning on buying this at release. I thought that actually this was going to be another not so good Total War release. Bugs at the start, and frankly 5 factions weren't enough. But Creative Assembly has surprised me on this case, and after a few friends convinced me that it was worth the money, I have bought it, and you know what, I have been thoroughly enjoying this so far. So really what I want to do today is bring to you one of my multiplayer games. So far I'm having fun on multiplayer. I've only played a few, and it's that nice stage where everyone's still learning about the game and haven't found broken points. But the overall game has really changed Total War a lot, actually, in a way I sort of like. There is a little bit less maybe complexity, but the RPG element that's been brought in has added its own element of complexity. And just the sheer amount of tactical differences you now have with these monsters in play is great. So anyway, that's my brief summary of what's going on, but let's just jump into the game. So I'm playing as the Greenskins versus the vampires. I actually really like the vampires. However, I do want to make sure that basically I'm not spamming them out, and this was a fun orc game. Orcs suit my playstyle. It's big, hard, aggressive, and lots of infantry types. I like it, with cavalry access. So let's have a look at the armies. My army consists of 4 orc boys, each with a chevron upgrade, to basically make them a little bit stronger in melee and have that leadership. 3 orc Arab boys, just really as missile units. They're cheap and they're not too bad. 2 units of Orc Biggins, each with a chevron upgrade. 2 units of Black Orcs with great weapons. 2 units of Orc Boar Boy Biggins on boars, and then an Orc Boar Chariot. In addition, I have my Orc War Boss flying on a Wyvern, and 2 units of Goblin Wolf Riders. My opponent is playing as the vampires. He's brought an interesting army, and I kind of wanted to start this off. It seems like a nice little battle to introduce everyone to, that while the monsters have been brought in, they are not broken by any means. We have a unit of Vargulf on each side, so these are giant, monstrous, essentially characters' abilities they can really hold their own against multiple infantry units, and they're tough to bring down. He has 4 units of Crypt Horrors acting as sort of a shield screening. They're medium monsters, they are killable, but it takes a goddamn long time. I've also got poison attacks, which is concerning to my orcs. 2 units of Cairn Wraiths, who are essentially armor-breaking ghosts that are very difficult to kill with physical units. However, they're not impossible, as you'll see. He has a wizard, so a necromancer basically, or a vampire. I think it's a vampire lord, actually. Can't quite tell. That does look like von Carstein, actually, Manfred von Carstein. Either way, he's currently taking fire, and 2 units of Banshees, melee specialists, again anti-armor, much like the Cairn Wraiths. The way that it's now been set up, is really, I've actually just manipulated it so that I'm using my greater numbers and mobility to really just surround him. My Wolf Rider archers are actually just picking off, and have been picking off his Vargulf for a while. And different units in the back. My Orc Arab boys are now just unloading into the front of his lines. He has no infantry to screen these shots, so all of these shots are going on his key characters. I'm holding my ground, there's no need for me to move. I am moving my troops into threatening positions on the flank. His army is so small with just monsters that essentially he can't do anything to stop me outmaneuvering him. It starts off where he charges a Vargulf into a unit of Black Orcs who gladly oblige. I feel like these guys are going to do well. They've got great weapons. Killing a Vargulf shouldn't be too much problem considering their armor and just how much they can do. My Orc Biggins are on the side as well. I've made contact and made sure I got the charge off with the Orc boys. They're really a holding force. I just want them to keep there while the rest of my army gets around the back. My Wyverns on top, really just looking to pick off his general. So I send him immediately over the top and attack Manfred von Carstein, knocking him over. My Orc Biggins sent 1 unit off to go help with the Vargulf, who is dying very quickly now. and 1 unit off to flank up the rest of his army. In the meantime, my Orc Boy Biggins and my Orc Boar Chariot, my cavalry contingent, are really charging down. So let's just have a look at the situation now in pause mode, because it is a little bit easier. So as you can see, he's got a very strong load of units. My Orc Boys are already taking a hell of a lot of damage and are shaken. They're not doing fantastic. They are fighting monstrous infantry, as well as Cairn Wraiths, who are going to just chew through the armour of an Orc, no problem at all. However, his units, he's put so much money into certain units. For example, this guy here, I think Manfred von Carstein, is nearly dead already because he's been surrounded by black orcs pelted with arrows, and now my Wyvern is in there as well, so my Orc Warboss on a Wyvern. His Vargulf is losing critically, and you don't want undead to be losing combats unless they are, certainly you're not your good units. Because when undead and the vampire troops, they don't necessarily run away, they don't have morale, but as you can see here, this little sort of red disintegrating effect is called crumbling. And it essentially means they're losing the combat so badly and their morale is so dropped that the binding to the vampiric lord who is controlling them is disappearing. They're crumbling away. They're beginning to lose, their undeadness, I guess you could put it. That's not something orcs suffer from. Orcs and humans and Bretonnians and I think even Chaos will rout. So that's something individual to the undead. But as you can see, the sacrifice of limiting his troop types to monstrous infantry and big hitters, which are expensive, means that I can distract them with the cannon fodder and hit them tactically and flank them. This is something that Total War has always done very well, but it feels more relevant at the moment. I don't feel like any of these infantry are fighting their way out of encirclement by any means. You can see my centre is in fact crumbling, but at the same time he is losing a lot of men. Now my centre was never going to hold properly. My Orc Arrow Boys are really there just to keep firing arrows into the mess. I don't care if they hit my Orcs. I care if they hit the Crypt Horrors. I've got the Orcs to spare and his infantry certainly are not numerous. Now I do decide to bring out my Wyvern as he charges Cairn Wraiths in, just to get him out of the way. There is a lot of focus on these heroes in Warhammer Total War, purely because the heroes are leading your army. They give you excellent buffs. I mean, for example, this guy is giving a buff right now to my troops. And also the morale effect of losing one, especially for, say, undead, where they're tied to your general, magically, means it's disastrous, essentially. Now you can see here the Cairn Wraiths, again, their lord is dead. They are disintegrating like anything. They will fall to pieces, basically, without their lord. Same with everything else, and that's the key to killing undead from what I can tell from the early gameplay. Get their lord, kill him, isolate him. The morale will then drop, the binding will then drop. I don't think Crypt Horrors are necessarily worse. They don't seem to be so bad at crumbling, but they're still not fantastic. I mean, they're fighting these Orc Biggins, and Orc Biggins are not that... They're good infantry, but they're not going to be too much problem normally, especially with Banshee in the middle. Now you can see I've actually left a load of Orc Boys that have come back from the fight out of this, but really it's just a matter of wrapping up now. We're in the last few seconds. But that was a really fun battle. I wasn't expecting that to be quite as quick, and I wasn't expecting the army that he brought. He brought a very focused army on really bringing monstrous infantry and those big hitters and nothing else. I feel like Vampire's strength is they can field so many expendable units that they can resurrect, and these just units he used, they don't resurrect very easily. So it's a personal feeling, I could be wrong, but it does seem to sacrifice a bit of tactical advantage. But what I do like about Warhammer Total War right now is it is an excellent mix of knowing that, your tactics and your flanking works on anything, and it is fantastic. Do that. Breaking lines is just as important in others, but you also have magic elements to take into account, and the leadership elements, as well as having to deal with something you're not really used to dealing with. Perhaps the best comparison is to elephants in the previous Total War games. Those things took specialist attention to kill. Now just imagine armies that have got 2 units of elephants, except the elephants are different, or they can fly, or they can fire arrows off of the top of them, or ballistas on top of them. It's just got a good variation. So, I mean, that was my introduction, and depending on how well this video is received, I might make more videos on Total War Warhammer. They're quick to make, and frankly, I'm having good fun with the game. So I'll catch you guys later. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do let me know if you have any questions, comments in the comments section. All the best until next time.